Before the break, I asked how much money has the United States spent to fund the war in Afghanistan since it began in 2001. $800 billion, $380 billion, $1.1 trillion, or $650 billion? The answer is $800 billion. But that's not enough for some in Washington, and a question is now facing President Trump whether to send 5,000 more troops into Afghanistan. Reportedly, some intense debate going on in the White House, and a decision has yet to be made. Will more American troops in Afghanistan actually help solve this 16-year-old conflict? Let me bring in former Navy SEAL and co-author of Extreme Ownership, Leif Babin. That's a great book. Do you think we have better leaders in the White House right now? And Department of Defense?
I think absolutely we do. And I think if you talk to most members of the military right now, they're pretty excited that the president has delegated some authorities, particularly for airstrikes and things like that, on ISIS and ISIS targets and related terrorist organizations. I think that's outstanding. I think that's helping us out quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think when you hear the president say, "I want to annihilate these folks," and General James Mattis, now Secretary of Defense, is an outstanding choice. I think he's doing an incredible job.
Yeah.
And I think people that are forward and overseas feel like they have the support they need.
But there's a lot of fatigue when it comes to Afghanistan because we've been there for 16 years. I mean, it's hard to imagine with some of the conflicts that we've seen historically in this country, including Vietnam and the Civil War, that Afghanistan is the longest war. And there's been so much money spent and so many people have died. And we have to ask ourselves, for what?
I think it's a great question, and it is. I mean, when you talk to people, all my combat experience comes from Iraq, and I supported guys as an executive officer, operations officer, their SEAL team. I supported a troop that was forward doing work there. I've had a lot of friends that have served there. I talked to a good friend of mine who was there, this is 4 or 5 years ago now, who was coming back from deployment and just thinking about all the loss that we've had there, having been there multiple times, and even back then was saying, we've lost this thing here.
Yeah.
So the writing was already on the wall. U.S. troops were pulling back. The Taliban was taking over other areas. So I think what this requires is some tough leadership decisions, and that's really the debate here of what does winning look like, and then how can we win this thing. I think that, sending more troops over there, while that can prevent the Taliban from taking over areas, and that's great, what's the long-term plan?
Yeah, exactly. But then what? I mean, I guess that's the ultimate goal, or the ultimate question is, we don't want a nation build there. Didn't we learn our lesson in the 80s? And how many proxy wars are we supposed to fight in Afghanistan? And I know the Taliban sucks, but the whole Middle East sucks. And it's such a time suck, an energy suck, and sucks lives. Just sucks.
It does, and more than just, I think for those that are serving there, it's more than just, people talk about blood and treasure. I mean, these are people's friends, their families, and lives are still being lost there as folks are in harm's way. So I think we have to ask those questions. It's long been understood by anyone who's been on the ground and spent time there that we're never going to solve the Taliban problem without taking on, the Pakistani issue in the federally administered tribal areas.
Yeah.
I think these are the tough leadership questions.
I mean, that's why Afghanistan is tough, because it is surrounded by nuclear powers and various countries who have the bomb.